If you want to be prosperous, you better start approaching life with this attitude. Perspective. Really, it's what everything is built on. And when it comes to building wealth, taking control of your life in all different areas, it starts with, well, how do you view things? What is your approach? What is your angle when it comes to looking at a situation and then saying, how am I going to feel about this? What's my attitude going to be towards it? And if you want to have success, if you want to build wealth, if you want to take control, then you need to be always focusing on the solution, not the problem. And I'm going to try not to rant, and this has nothing to do with whether you lean left, whether you lean right, whether you would consider yourself a moderate. Anywhere you look in the news, again, no matter what station you're looking at, the media are a bunch of idiots. They're always trying to mold thought process. They're trying to pull the puppet strings, and I can't stand it. And this here is, just an example that I'm going to talk about with an article. But my point here is this: always be focusing on the solution. And as much as the media likes to just focus on the problems and twist and finagle things to make it seem like, oh, woe is me. No, there's always a solution. So I want to get to this article, read through it a little bit, and then kind of show you exactly what I mean, because this provides a great example of, the motto of, hey, let's focus on the solution and not the problem. So the name of the article, Tax Cut Riches Have Gone to Executives and Investors Over Workers by Nearly 3-to-1. So here's what I mean about the media just really deceiving, to be quite frank, the general population. As they structure it, they are structuring it, it's coming across as executives and investors versus workers. Like they are all different. And it's true, they are different. But that's very deceiving, because in all actuality, this exists. A worker can become an investor. Yes, a worker can become an investor. Sure, a worker could technically work themselves up and maybe become an executive. But executives, those are like the CEOs, the high-ranking people. So I will concede on that point. But yeah, this right here is pretty much out. There is a big difference between executives and workers. But investors and workers, there is no difference, because a worker can make the choice to become an investor. And how do you do that? Well, there are many ways to do it, especially with technology and online brokerages, and I'm not going to get into all that. But just understand that just from the get-go, the headline here is that workers can indeed become investors. So let's get to this next quote, and we'll keep on digging. So David says, good old David, the recently enacted corporate tax cut is likely to deliver far more benefits to top management and investors than to typical American households. So once again, what is the media doing? What is this David guy doing? He is lumping workers with typical households. And yeah, that's fine. Most people we're all workers out there. That's fine. But within the quote, once again, he's saying that, well, it's only executives and investors that are benefiting from these tax cuts. No. Yes, investors are benefiting. However, what did we already establish? That workers can become investors. And who are these workers? Well, typical households. So typical households can, once again, become investors. So sure, the media, sure, maybe some people's thought process, their perspective is greedy Wall Street. All they're doing is giving value to executives and investors. What a problem to have. Woe is me. That's the problem. It's all going to investors. It's all going... Wait a second. How can I get around this? Oh, well, I could become an investor. And if I become an investor, then what? Then all of a sudden, I'm actually benefiting by what this article is talking about. So let's focus on the solution. And the solution is what? Becoming an investor. Now, I realize this is kind of hard. And I love this because he uses typical households. Again, his words, not mine. Typical, normal, average households. So once again, we know the solution now. We need to become an investor. But in order to become an investor, what do you have to be able to do? Well, it all comes down to this word right here. Save. So that's what that arrow right there is representing, is if you want to become an investor, you have to be able to save money. And I realize this is probably kind of common sense, but again, all right, well, Clay, there's more problems. There's more problems when you look at the word typical. So let's look at some statistics that come from the Federal Reserve and some other sites that show what a typical household looks like. Remember, another word for typical would be average. So right here, household debt, average US household debt in specific categories. I just want to focus on those first two because student loans and mortgages, there's some gray area there, but there is no gray area when it comes to credit cards and auto loans. Look at those numbers. $16,000 for credit cards, $29,000 for auto loans. Again, let's go with the model. Let's focus on the solution, not the problem. Yes, the problem is the typical household has lots of debt and really a lot of just stupid debt. Credit cards, car payments, not necessary. In fact, unnecessary debts. So yeah, it is going to become troublesome to save, which therefore allows you to become an investor, which therefore allows you to benefit from what this article is perceiving as something bad. But what do you need to focus on? Focus on the solution. The solution is, well, how do we do this to the debt? We need to be able to eliminate the debt. Focus on getting rid of it, because when you get rid of it, it becomes easier to save. Hopefully you see kind of the logic chain that I am creating here. Getting rid of debt allows you to save. When you save, you become an investor. And when you become an investor, you are benefiting from all these dynamics that are perceived to be bad. So that's what I want you to kind of learn. What you need to, like I said, this is just one approach with an actual example of how you should be approaching things. Is not woe is me playing the victim card. Everybody's so greedy. All they do is give investors, all they do is give shareholders, and I should note shareholders and investors, they're one and the same. All they do is get all the money. Well, you should be thinking, okay, well, how do I get some of that money? How do I become an investor? Well, you got to save, and you got to get rid of debt to be able to save. And there you go. That's how you do it. You can't just sit back and complain about the problem. You need to focus on the solution. And this is the solution. And if you are interested in how to do this stuff, I do offer courses on it. But even if you don't take them, that's fine. You got to approach life with you know what? I'm going to be prosperous. And people that are prosperous are always focusing on the solution and not the problem. Thanks for watching the video. If you are interested in the top 10 links that I use on a daily basis to manage, to control, and to build my finances and to make them efficient as possible, then down below in the description, if you're watching this on YouTube, description, if you're watching this on moneywithclay.com, then just down below the video, you can click on the link and that'll take you to these links that I use on a daily basis that really allow me to work smarter and not harder.